JBL boom tube. It's not really a box, you can't say that. Extreme 3 tube. They tell me that it's a bad USB socket. Why is this sticker falling off? Looks like it's been peeled back by someone. Why they do that, I don't know. There's nothing in here. Not charging. It's a bad USB port. You tell me. Looks alright from this angle. May need to take a closer look. They appear to be as good as new. USB charging base. Are belong to us. Plug it in. Good click. Wait for it. Wait for it. Charging. And not charging. I smell a battery fault. Let's plug it in again and see what happens. Just to reset it. Plugged in. Attempting charge. Giving up. This one has a seam like a lot of the smaller ones. I wonder if it'll pop at the seam. It does. We have lifting. Alright, support that with something. Chuck a tweezer under there. We can pry this side. It feels like it's unsticking as well. What about down here? Not so much. I wonder if these ends come off first. What do they feel like? Oh, I wonder if these, like, there's some rubber pieces, 3 of them. I wonder if they come off with some screws under there. Well, it did come off. And it doesn't feel sticky, so that must just sit in there. Do we have, can this section come off? There's a bit of rubber underneath it. Feels like there's a hole there. I wonder how well that comes off. Feels like this part's stuck on. Let's get a flatter prying tool. Maybe it just needs to be pinched and lifted away. Maybe? Oh! There's definitely a screw hiding under there. But this is a very strange rubbery piece, which is almost almost destructible. It's stretching, and it doesn't feel like it'll form back to shape once we get it off. Is there any more screws? I don't feel anything. Just another hole at this end. So there's one at each end. We could probably just pull it back enough to expose the screw. Ever played with self-amalgamating tape? It's what this black stuff kind of feels like. It's really weird. There's definitely a screw at each end. Now I guess we've got to do that for all the others. Don't want to come off as easy as the first one. really sticky, even though there's no really any apparent amount of glue except some residue there, but not in any of the others. Would it be easier to just go and remove the screw through the rubber, like instead of trying to pry it up? Do you think maybe? Well, there you go. That's an easier way of doing it. It makes a nice clean hole. And even though this end is already pulled up, might as well pop it out of there. So feel for the hole, and so I guess the end should just pop off like that. It's here when you find out how it's really assembled, and you didn't need to do that. We shall proceed. I think it's necessary, even though it doesn't look like it was retaining this any bit. But that'll have to come off, because what will happen is this will expand at the seam. I'd imagine that would expand and slide up, off and over and off the tube in the middle. Well, that end put up more of a fight. The rubber stuff actually came off this one. It's stuck to the side piece. Okay. Are they left and right? They don't look it. But if I had to wonder, I would say that's right. Somehow, go back to where we were, and this will probably slip apart up here, up the side, maybe. If not, bend my spudger trying. Might be some kind of clip or something. Or maybe the other side comes off. Imagine that. Okay, the other side comes off a lot easier. Alright, we'll go that way. Go. So now I guess we can kind of probably roll it like that, roll it away from, and then this side's gonna is there, oh, there's screws there. I bet there's a little screw down here and a little one in this corner, probably ties back to plastic on this side. I bet. Is there a screw underneath the foam? Let's do a bit of poking around just to see. Doesn't feel like it. Possibly. Oh yeah, there's a screw. There's a screw there. So we've got a corner. We've got one there. There'll be one over here. Guaranteed. Yep. There it is. So we've got one up here and then one at this end. I reckon those are holding this side of that outer shell on, and that's probably too big for that one, is it? Oh, just enough. They are different lengths, so keep them in order. Longer ones in the middle. Let's use some leverage. So that's where the screw went, and if I pull on here, you can see it now lets it lift off the chassis. So they were holding it on for sure. So now if we follow this around, is it going to continue to roll off? Oh, that whole thing's going to come off. It looks like it's just going to come off. So if we pull them apart, Ah, look at that. There we go. Gull wing doors. Right, are they left and right? Yeah, they're kind of left and right. You want to get that in order. Guess I need to find where the battery is. Ah, okay. Bit hard to see. Battery's under here. Whether we can access it from here through the foam or not. It looks like we have to. Yeah, it's definitely under the foam. So while the camera was charging, I found out a couple of things. One, this little side piece comes off there, 4 screws. 2, the battery is under all the foam that we were looking at. Let's flip that over. So that piece there are screws along the sides. So yeah, simple as that. And said battery. Now, it was pretty discharged. It was below 3.8 volts per cell. So I've got it on the charge and we are cranking it. So hopefully we'll get a bit into that and see how it responds. I think that's why it stopped charging, because it realized that maybe it was too low and it didn't want to. Sometimes they do that. Funny thing, I actually put 8 volts, so this is a 8.4 volt fully charged. I put 8 volts onto the battery connector down in there, and when I powered it on, after about 15-20 seconds it powers off. I don't know if that's because there's no Bluetooth connection and it just times out to save the battery because it's not paired, and you're not actively pairing it. That's possible. It did it with the battery as well. However, after unplugging the battery when I first checked it and plugging it back in, it didn't turn on at all. No, sorry, it did turn on, but it didn't charge anymore, which is odd. Okay, so once we get some charge into this and it's knowing good, we can work from there. We've got to rule the battery out first, because a bad battery can affect things in lots of ways and make them misbehave. Okay, battery is charged for the most part. Comes through to this white connector up here. Alright, and let's hit the power button, which is that one. One push. So you may have heard that. I'm not sure if that's actually lit up or not. Oh, and it went off a lot quicker than the first time I did. Interesting. I wonder what the voltage is on that. There are 8 volts when I turn it on. Still 8 volts. So it's not the battery causing it to shut down as far as I can tell, unless there's an issue with the temperature side of it. Thinks it's hot or something, but anyway. Where's my phone? So I turn it on. I wonder if I push the Bluetooth button. Oh, made a beep. So it must be in pairing mode if we search. And it turned off. Okay. Turn on. Bluetooth mode. Scan. JBL Extreme 3. Pairing. And it shuts off. So clearly something's not happy. I guess now we have to get the board from out of here, and it will just slide up out the end. But testing it out of here is going to be interesting, as like all the connectors will be left behind, so I have to figure something out. I think we'll have to take the speakers out. They feel like they're glued in. Got a little bit of movement there. Not huge. May have to try and pry it up. Very, very well stuck down. Well, we're slowly getting somewhere with a little sniff of alcohol trickled around the edge. And there we get the top edge out. That was the stronger one. Now we'll unhook those wires. As you can see, there's quite a thick tape around the edge there. But they do like to seal these things up really well, so I'm not surprised. Quality. Now the other one could be a bit trickier, unless I remove this end, because I was reaching in and just pushing up from behind. It was easier, but that one, maybe I have to take this end off, I don't know. Maybe I just should do it anyway. Yeah, we'll see. Just a sniff of that alcohol and she's all over. Hey, get that up, put a little bit down there. Cool, and the best part about alcohol is once it's dried, everything goes all sticky again. So it can be a bit slimy to get off, but once it's gone, the glue stays behind, it doesn't evaporate with it. Yeah, what do we need to unhook? We need to unhook the tweeter at this end, and then it should slide out. But it's going to be glued in as well, I have a feeling. There's going to be something about it that kind of helps retain it in there, so not going to come out easily. A couple of ribbon cables, but we'll unhook that tweeter there. So 4 screws and it just lifts off. Yeah. If you loosen them all, okay, pop off the tweeter connectors. This is one piece of plastic, it doesn't split. So it definitely, the board's going to have to slide out of there. I'm just looking for any signs of glue, but I think it's a very solid press fit. Well, there you can kind of see it. There you go. Focus. There's a ribbon cable here, so we'll just unclip that one. Bit of glue on there, so it didn't flick up all the way. So give it some encouragement. Here we go. That's on. Bit of tape. We've got this foam tape everywhere that's holding everything together. Uh-oh. Okay, alright, this foam tape has a hidden Wi-Fi antenna in it. Cool, alright. I think what I should do maybe is take this section off, I think. This giant cover here looks like it comes out as one piece. All those screws around it. We'll take that off and then I think we'll have better access to some of those board connectors. Now with the screws off, this thing's going to just pop out like this. And it's very waterproof. We've got rubber seals everywhere. But this comes up. Oh, this is that flex we unplugged earlier. That comes up with it. And there's another big fat connector underneath. Okay, where does that go? Okay, so that goes around to this end of the board. So this big connector on this end goes up to it, as well as that flex. This has a red glue. There's a red glue all over that connector. So we'll try and cut through that. I find a tweezer can be helpful just to kind of dig under the glue, and you go between the connector and the housing and just kind of break it away, depending on the glue. They really have plied this on. I wonder if some hot air would soften it. Maybe that's going to be an easier way of doing it. Never thought about that. Obviously not hot enough to melt the connector, but hot enough to maybe soften the glue. Give it a little bit of hot air and see if it softens right up. No. No, that's still very tight. Although it definitely has softened it. I can really sort of dig away at it a lot easier. So maybe that's the key. I've broken some of it away. Let's see if it'll pull off now. No. I think it's because the locking piece has got a lot down in against it as well. There we go. Being a portable device, throwing it around can knock these loose, so understandably they're taking precautions. So now this thing should come out. There we go. We should have a closer look at this. Actually, that flex is crooked. I don't know that I pulled on that hard enough to do that. So that's not even plugged in. Let's push that back in and then make sure that, let's just see if, oh dear, one of the little connectors is loose. I just noticed. I'm going to have to go under the microscope, see if I can fix that. I'm pretty sure I didn't pull on that hard enough to yank that out, but even pulling it out would not have caused that to break, because pushing it in is what causes those little connections to peel off. So we will have a closer look at that. Maybe that's half our problem. Okay, what else have we got in here? Everything looks green, nothing looks charcoal in a brief glance. See, brief glance. Looks like a PCB. Instead of trying to force that out of there, let's just, you know where that Wi-Fi connector is, all taped down. We'll make note of that. What do we got going on here? So that's no good. That there is definitely no good, but that's not the end of the world. I'm sure we can reattach that enough to get back in the connector and never remove it again. The rest of them look all good. How does the other end look? Shouldn't matter, it was on the motherboard. That's fine. So we'll start with tiniest little drop of super glue. Just lift that since it's already lifted. Then I will get some supery glue on my tweezer and add it to there. That's probably way too much. I'll wipe some off. And not that it probably matters, but use a cleaner one just to hold it down. Probably doesn't matter at all. Yeah, where is a wipe? Get some of that off. So making sure it's just held down as it sets. You can always just scrape over the top of it to scrape the glue off, as long as it bonds with the plastic underneath. Don't push in too hard or you'll bend it and the end will stick up. It's feeling better. It doesn't seem to want to move sideways when I bump it now. Cool. We'll let that just set up a little bit longer. What do you reckon? Not too shabby. There's quite a noticeable dent at the back end up here, the top, where it must seat against the contact in the socket. it appears to have had a lot more pressure against it than the others. May have to look at the socket close up. See, the one at this end's actually got quite a dent in it too. I'll give it a clean, of course. Let's have a look into the socket. No, that looks absolutely fine. I don't think there's any issues in there at all. All the fingers are level. A nice gradual ramp up to the peak of each finger, which means when we insert this cable, it's not going to be too aggressive on it. Just make sure it is soldered on down there, I guess, and it's not something stupid like being half disconnected from some kind of impact. Imagine that. Looks all right under there. Feels attached. Yep, that's fine. I wonder if I should have a closer inspection of our USB port then. Might be an idea. Since it's already this far apart, we might as well take it the rest of the way apart. And if we remove the screws around the edge, this clear cover will come off and we can pull the board out. Might as well do that and make sure that the port is soldered on, as if we can tell there's no other damage that we can't see from the outside. This board is then screwed into the clear housing on the underside as well. Double whammy holding everything together. But this little board is just soldered in with the port on it. So let's whip this out and have a closer look. Thought it was funny that the large connector that was screwed into the large connector that was glued into the motherboard was not glued at this end. It's a bit half and half. Like, if you're worried about it falling out of one end, surely it would fall out of the other end under the same circumstances, or have just as much chance of. That'll look all good. Solder joints on the plug there. That actually looks good, that little board there. It's firmly attached on the other side. So if we zoom in and check the port itself, those contacts that appear to be missing at each end, not the very end but in the middle, were never there to start with. So in some applications you don't need those pins. But it is a very clean port, as it should be, because it's got a big rubber cap that sits over it all the time. So no issues there. The little guys down there, they look all right. They are all diodes. Yeah, interesting. Never seen a diode that looks like an inductor. They're all marked with a D though. Wonder what they test like. Just out of curiosity. So we've got 0.3, hang on, not 0.3, what am I looking at? 3 volts in diode mode both ways. So it's probably something in the circuit. Nothing there, and nothing there. So I'm going to say one end goes to this capacitor, which then has, whatever that is. Oh yeah, that's a resistor to, oh yeah, it's a resistors across here. One side's on ground. I bet one side of all of these is on ground. Yep. So I'm going to say that they are probably surge protection diodes rather than normal diodes, because they don't measure anything as a diode drop. So they're going to be transient voltage suppressors, I reckon. Well, nothing wrong with this board as far as I can see. Put it back together. Back to our little piece of damage. That feels pretty tight. I'm not going to really push on it because that'll be stupid. That feels really good. What's its what's its continuity like? We didn't glue the end, so we can measure from the end. My probe's dirty, isn't it? Measure from the end. Oh, yep. So we don't appear to have got any glue on here much, if any at all. So here's hoping. Let's see if a bit of alcohol will, just a tiny sniff will let me clean the pins without disturbing it. All right, let's reinsert that and see what happens. All right, grasping it firmly and very gently inserting it. It's going in. That went click. I think that's good. And of course, if there was an issue with that one we did, we would probably see it folded up and sticking up if it had peeled in, but it hasn't. That looks fantastic. If I want to get real carried away, I could probably measure the pin on the board versus the other end of this, but I have faith. I think that's a good fit. All right, we are partially assembled. Let's hit the on button. Which is not very loud when it turns on. I'm not sure which side's volume plus. It hasn't turned off. Unless I missed something. Let's push Bluetooth. Oh, here we go. Pairing. Oh, it's on. I bet that crooked flex may have been shorting a couple of pins that mimicked the power button. So once you turned it on, there was enough of a signal there to make it think you were pushing the power button again, and it turned off, which would kind of explain why it was a bit intermittent. Sometimes it felt like it was on longer than others. Let me push these buttons. Okay, so that's volume. So now that's volume plus, and then I've got that's loop and play, I think it is. So let me go. Let me find something to play. Ha! You can't copyright a sine wave, eh? Well, that's working. Okay, let's test charging. Alright, and I will plug it in. Will it charge? 5, 6. Ah! Let's see if it lasts. Because it didn't last the first time, but then, hey, if that flex wasn't in properly, that'll do it. And it's still going a minute later. So, how about that? Ladies and germs, that's all it was. Let's put it back together. You know, it's faults like this that really make you sit there and say, what the? It can only be something, I think, that happened at manufacture during assembly, and that little connection, little folded up connection, has been hanging on all this time. I don't even know how old this is. And maybe it was a warranty claim. Maybe someone got it out of the rubbish bin. But it's been hanging on, and then finally eventually stopped working. So it lands on our workbench, and we scratch our heads, and there we go. Now, which screws went in that one? But at least we didn't have to put a USB port on it. I'll put the speakers back in. I suppose it's possible that someone actually had a go at this for whatever reason. Sure has been a while since I made a video. Wish I had something exciting to say, but nothing going on really. And the end pieces. So it's going to clip around the middle, like that wedge, and then those come up and sit over there. But it needs to rotate slightly, like that, and then that'll kind of lift up into situ. Oh, there's a couple of clicks as well, that helps line that up. Cool, let's tend to that beep. In. Except that one's a bit longer than it should have been, but it went all the way. So, is there probably a clip that has to line up? There'll be something that clips in, because you can see down through there it's not fully against the chassis. So there'll be a hole that lines up. Like that. A gentle squeeze. And then that one will come round and line up. Get that fluff out of the way. Somehow around that way somehow. Try the, no, maybe. Gotta try and get this gap to close somehow. Oh, I think I've got it. Yep. Holding the body of it and pushing on here is going to cause this part to kind of flex, and as you push on it, it'll flex up and over its locking pins and into place. So now this should more readily close around here. Should. I may have to give it the old bear hug. Because there's definitely a pin that's not going in somewhere. It's so close. Ah, there it goes. Feel like a chiropractor. You'd never know it was in pieces. Let's get these ends back on and see if those little pads are sticky and get in there again. Are these left and right? I don't think so. Pretty sure they're not. Is there a key? There is a key. There's a couple of holes that they lock into. There's a pin here, and a hole there, and a hole there, and a hole there. Yeah, a couple of holes. So the pin's going to go into here, I would say, because it doesn't look like a screw hole, which would make it sit like that. Well, that means that's up the right way, because the buttons are on top. Can I push the buttons? Ooh, I don't know if this is clipped into place properly. Uh-oh. This isn't clipped into place properly. Ah, what a pain in the butt. Okay, let's do that again. And it's done. Well, I glued these back on, a little bit of super glue, just to make sure they stay, because the rubber wasn't that sticky afterward. But now it's good, and now it works. Turns on, pairs. There we go. Well, thanks for watching. Again, who knows how that happened. It definitely would not have been a drop. I very much doubt it would have been a drop. Either someone removed the charging port section, little piece that housed all that. They tried to pull it out and damage that, or it was damaged at the factory and has just finally stopped functioning after X amount of time. Not gonna say, looking at the condition of it, it has been rocked around a bit, so it's not like it was faulty out of the box and has been sitting around. Oh, is it a light? I think it might be a light. What does that do if I push the button? It doesn't light up. Maybe it's a charging light or something. Oh well. Fixed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you when I see you. No promises. Not a lot coming through. Not worth videoing, at least. Okay, bye.